In 40 years on the bench, I've learned that corruption isn't always about suitcases full of cash or secret meetings in dark alleys. Sometimes it's about small-town mayors who think their little kingdom makes them untouchable. Sometimes it's about construction contracts that should go to the best bidder, but instead go to the highest bidder in a different kind of auction. And sometimes, if you're very unlucky, it's about getting caught on camera taking money you never should have touched. This story begins with what seemed like a routine municipal violation case. Mayor James Thornton of East Greenwich was cited for illegally posting campaign signs on public property, specifically on the grounds of the new municipal building that was still under construction. The irony wasn't lost on anyone that the mayor was using his own city's construction project as free advertising space. But what started as a simple citation for improper signage would end up exposing a web of corruption that had been operating right under everyone's noses for 3 years. Mayor Thornton had been running East Greenwich for 6 years when he walked into my courtroom that Thursday morning in September. He was a big man, both physically and politically, 6'2", barrel-chested, with the kind of commanding presence that had won him 2 elections by comfortable margins. He owned 3 local businesses before entering politics and had built a reputation as someone who got things done in city government. The problem was how he got things done. Thornton came to court that morning wearing his usual expensive suit and confident smile, probably expecting to pay a small fine for the campaign sign violations and move on with his day. His attorney, Michael Burns, was one of the best municipal lawyers in Rhode Island, the kind of smooth operator who specialized in making problems disappear for well-connected clients. "Good morning, Mayor Thornton," I said as he approached the defendant's table. "You're cited for violation of municipal signage ordinances. How do you plead?" Thornton looked at me with the kind of easy confidence that comes from never facing serious consequences for anything. "Your Honor, I plead not guilty. I believe this citation was issued in error." Issued in error. That was interesting. The citation had been written by Code Enforcement Officer Lisa Santos, a 15-year veteran with an impeccable record, who photographed every violation before writing citations. "Mayor, the citation indicates that 12 campaign signs bearing your name were posted on city property without permits. Do you deny placing these signs?" "Your Honor, those signs were placed by campaign volunteers. I wasn't personally involved in their placement, and I had no knowledge that city property was being used." Thornton was claiming ignorance about his own campaign's activities on a construction project that he, as mayor, personally oversaw. "Mayor, the signs were posted on the grounds of the new municipal building. As mayor, aren't you familiar with that location?" "Your Honor, I'm familiar with the project, but I don't personally monitor every square foot of city property for campaign compliance." His attorney jumped in. "Your Honor, my client had no direct knowledge of the sign placement. This appears to be an overzealous enforcement action against a public official who's worked tirelessly to improve city infrastructure." Worked tirelessly to improve city infrastructure. That phrase would become very important in a few minutes. "Counselor, I'd like to hear Officer Santos's report on this citation." Lisa Santos had been waiting in the gallery. She approached the witness stand with a folder full of photographs and documentation. "Your Honor, on September 12th at approximately 8:30 a.m., I conducted a routine inspection of the municipal building construction site. I observed 12 campaign signs for Mayor Thornton posted along the front perimeter of the property." Officer Santos, were these signs in a location where they would be visible to the mayor during his normal duties? "Yes, Your Honor. They were directly in front of the main entrance where Mayor Thornton parks his car every morning." Thornton shifted uncomfortably. It was getting harder to claim ignorance about signs posted right where he walked into work every day. Officer Santos, did you observe anything else unusual during your inspection? That's when Santos said something that changed everything. Your Honor, while I was photographing the campaign signs, I observed Mayor Thornton arriving at the construction site for what appeared to be a meeting with contractors. I remained in the area to complete my citation documentation. Did you observe this meeting? Santos looked nervous, clearly uncomfortable with where this was heading. Your Honor, I observed Mayor Thornton meeting with representatives from Bayside Construction and Harbor Development in a trailer on the construction site. Bayside Construction and Harbor Development were two of the largest construction companies in Rhode Island. They'd been competing for city contracts in East Greenwich for years. Officer Santos, did you observe anything specific about this meeting? Santos hesitated, then said, Your Honor, I observed what appeared to be an exchange of documents in an envelope between Mayor Thornton and representatives from both companies. An envelope. In my experience, when construction contractors start handing envelopes to mayors, it's not usually containing Christmas cards. Officer Santos, did you document this observation? Your Honor, I took photographs as part of my routine documentation. I wasn't specifically investigating anything other than the sign violations. Mayor Thornton's confident expression was starting to crack. His attorney looked like a man who was realizing his case had just become much more complicated. Your Honor, Burns said, Officer Santos was conducting a signage inspection, not surveillance of legitimate city business. Whatever she thinks she observed has no bearing on the citations before this court. But I was curious now. Officer Santos, are these photographs available for review? Yes, Your Honor. They're part of my case file. I called for a brief recess while Santos retrieved her documentation. When court resumed, she returned with a digital camera and a thick folder. Your Honor, I'd like to display the photographs I took during my inspection. The first few photos showed the campaign signs exactly as described. 12 signs posted prominently in front of the municipal building construction site. But the later photos show something much more interesting. There was Mayor Thornton, clearly visible, standing outside a construction trailer with two men in business suits. The photos showed Thornton receiving what appeared to be a manila envelope from one man, then handing a different envelope to the second man. The timestamp on the photos showed this exchange happening at 8:47 a.m. on September 12th. Your Honor, Burns objected. These photographs were taken without Mayor Thornton's knowledge or consent. They represent an invasion of privacy during legitimate city business. Counselor, your client was conducting this meeting on public property in broad daylight. There's no expectation of privacy. I looked at the photos more carefully. Something about the body language in these images suggested this wasn't a routine municipal meeting. The men were standing close together, looking around nervously, conducting their business quickly and quietly. Officer Santos, did you recognize the men meeting with Mayor Thornton? Your Honor, I later identified them as Frank Ricci from Bayside Construction and Anthony DeLuca from Harbor Development. Ricci and DeLuca. I knew those names because both companies had been mentioned in the news recently regarding the bidding process for East Greenwich's largest construction contracts. That's when District Attorney Sarah Kim, who'd been observing the proceedings, asked to approach the bench. Your Honor, based on Officer Santos's testimony and photographic evidence, the state requests an immediate investigation into potential corruption related to municipal contracting. Mayor Thornton jumped to his feet. Your Honor, this is outrageous. I was conducting legitimate city business. Those photographs prove nothing except that I was meeting with contractors about ongoing projects. Mayor Thornton, please sit down. D.A. Kim, what evidence supports an investigation? Your Honor, 3 weeks ago, our office received an anonymous tip alleging corruption in East Greenwich municipal contracting. The tip specifically mentioned cash payments to city officials in exchange for favorable contract awards. These photographs appear to corroborate those allegations. Anonymous tip, cash payments. The campaign sign violation was suddenly looking like the least of Mayor Thornton's problems. Your Honor, D.A. Kim continued, we've been conducting a preliminary investigation into bidding irregularities for the municipal building project, the fire station renovation, and the harbor improvement contract. Combined value of these projects is $4.2 million. $4.2 million in municipal contracts. If someone was taking bribes to influence the bidding process, we were talking about serious federal crimes, not municipal violations. Mayor Thornton, I'm going to ask you directly. Were you receiving money from construction contractors in exchange for favorable treatment in the bidding process? Thornton looked genuinely panicked for the first time. Your Honor, absolutely not. I've never accepted bribes from anyone. Those photographs show legitimate meetings about legitimate projects. Mayor, what was in the envelope you received from Mr. Ricci? Your Honor, it was project documentation, updated plans and specifications. And what was in the envelope you gave to Mr. DeLuca? Your Honor, it was city feedback on his proposal. But D.A. Kim wasn't finished. Your Honor, as part of our investigation, we executed search warrants this morning on both Bayside Construction and Harbor Development. Search warrants. This case was moving from municipal violations to federal investigation in real time. D.A. Kim, what did those searches reveal? Your Honor, we recovered financial records showing systematic payments to a consulting company called East Greenwich Municipal Services. This company was incorporated 3 years ago, with Mayor Thornton listed as the registered agent. A shell company. Thornton had created a fake consulting firm to launder bribes from construction contractors. Your Honor, Kim continued, bank records show that East Greenwich Municipal Services received $127,000 from Bayside Construction and $98,000 from Harbor Development over the past 3 years. These payments corresponded exactly with contract award dates. $225,000 in total bribes. Thornton had been selling municipal contracts to the highest bidder, literally. Mayor Thornton was sweating now. Your Honor, East Greenwich Municipal Services is a legitimate consulting firm that provides expertise about municipal procedures to private companies. Mayor, did you report this consulting income on your financial disclosure forms? Thornton looked at his attorney, who shook his head slightly. Your Honor, there may have been some oversights in financial reporting, but that doesn't constitute criminal activity. Oversights in financial reporting. He'd failed to disclose $225,000 in income while serving as mayor. Your Honor, D.A. Kim said, we also found something else in our search. She held up an evidence bag containing what appeared to be a small recording device. This is a digital recorder recovered from Frank Ricci's office at Bayside Construction. Mr. Ricci has been cooperating with our investigation for the past month. A recording device. Ricci had been working with prosecutors, documenting his interactions with Mayor Thornton. Your Honor, this recording device contains conversations between Mr. Ricci and Mayor Thornton discussing specific contract terms, payment schedules, and methods for disguising bribe payments. Recorded conversations. Thornton had been caught on tape negotiating bribes. Would you like to hear portions of these recordings, Your Honor? I looked at Mayor Thornton, whose face had gone completely pale. His attorney was frantically scribbling notes and whispering urgent advice. Your Honor, Burns said, my client invokes his Fifth Amendment rights and requests immediate legal counsel for any matters beyond the original citation. Too late for that. The damage was already done. Mayor Thornton, based on the evidence presented, I'm finding probable cause for criminal corruption charges. I'm referring this matter to the FBI for federal investigation and issuing a warrant for your arrest. Thornton's legs gave out, and he collapsed into his chair. Your Honor, please, I never meant for it to go this far. I was just trying to bring good projects to the city. Just trying to bring good projects. By selling contracts to companies that paid him personal bribes, rather than awarding them to the most qualified bidders. Your Honor, D.A. Kim said, we have one more piece of evidence. She produced another evidence bag, this one containing what appeared to be a bank deposit slip. This morning's search of Mayor Thornton's personal residence revealed a safe containing $47,000 in cash and documentation of additional payments from contractors working on city projects. $47,000 in cash. Thornton had been hoarding bribe money in his home safe. Mayor Thornton, I said, you came to my courtroom this morning facing a $50 fine for improperly placed campaign signs. You're leaving facing federal corruption charges that could result in 20 years in prison. 20 years. The campaign sign violation had exposed a corruption scheme that had been stealing from East Greenwich taxpayers for 3 years. As federal agents arrived to arrest Mayor Thornton, he made one final statement. Your Honor, I only wanted to help my city grow and prosper. I never meant to hurt anyone. But D.A. Kim had the final word. Your Honor, our investigation shows that East Greenwich taxpayers overpaid approximately $800,000 for municipal projects because contracts were awarded based on bribe payments rather than competitive bidding. Mayor Thornton didn't help his city. He robbed it. 6 months later, Mayor Thornton pleaded guilty to federal corruption charges and was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. He was ordered to pay $225,000 in restitution to East Greenwich and forfeit all assets purchased with bribe money. The FBI investigation expanded to include other Rhode Island municipalities, ultimately resulting in corruption charges against 12 public officials and 7 construction company executives. The total amount of stolen public money exceeded $2 million. During Thornton's sentencing hearing, the true scope of his corruption became clear. Federal prosecutors revealed that he'd been operating a sophisticated bribery system that went far beyond simple envelope exchanges. Contractors who wanted city business had to pay, quote, consulting fees to his shell company, provide free home improvements to his residents, and contribute to a vacation fund that he used for trips to Florida and Las Vegas. The investigation also revealed that Thornton had been pressuring city employees to ignore safety violations and code enforcement issues for contractors who paid bribes. This created public safety risks that could have resulted in building collapses or construction accidents that endangered residents. East Greenwich hired a new mayor in a special election. Maria Santos, Officer Santos's sister and a former city council member, ran on a platform of transparency and accountability. She implemented new bidding procedures, financial oversight requirements, and public reporting of all municipal contracts. One of Mayor Santos's first actions was to hire independent engineers to inspect all construction projects that had been overseen by Thornton. The inspection revealed serious structural deficiencies in the municipal building foundation. The fire station renovation had been done with substandard materials, and the harbor improvement project had used concrete that didn't meet marine environment specifications. The cost to repair Thornton's corruption-related construction problems exceeded $600,000, money that East Greenwich had to borrow because their budget had already been depleted by the original overpayments to corrupt contractors. The municipal building that started this whole case was completed 6 months late and $400,000 over budget because the original contractor, Bayside Construction, had cut corners to maximize profit margins after paying bribes. City residents had to conduct municipal business in a rented trailer for additional months while repairs were made to construction that should have been done correctly the first time. I received a letter from Maria Santos 1 year after her election. Judge Caprio, she wrote, "Thank you for turning a routine citation into a corruption investigation that saved our city from years of continued theft. James Thornton thought he was building his political career by accepting construction bribes. Instead, he built the evidence that sent him to prison. Your decision to investigate those photographs prevented hundreds of thousands of additional dollars from being stolen from taxpayers." The case taught me something important about how corruption works in small cities. Thornton didn't start out planning to become a criminal. He probably started by accepting small favors from contractors, meals, tickets to events, modest gifts. But corruption is like construction. Once you lay the foundation, it's easy to keep building until you've created something much bigger and more dangerous than you originally planned. When Thornton accepted his first envelope of cash, he thought he was just helping contractors navigate city bureaucracy while earning some extra income. But each bribe made the next one easier. Each payment made him more dependent on the income, and each contract he sold made him more vulnerable to exposure. By the time Officer Santos photographed him accepting bribes, Thornton had constructed a corruption scheme that was stealing from every East Greenwich taxpayer and undermining the integrity of municipal government. The most important lesson from that September morning wasn't about the specific crimes Thornton committed. It was about the importance of investigating suspicious behavior, even when it starts with something as simple as illegally placed campaign signs. If I just fined Thornton $50 and moved on to the next case, his corruption scheme would have continued for years. But when something doesn't look right, it's worth taking the time to understand what's really happening. Sometimes the best way to construct justice is to carefully examine the evidence that corrupt officials thought no one would notice. Mayor Thornton thought he was building his wealth through construction bribes. What he was really constructing was the evidence of his own downfall. And in the end, justice built a stronger case than he ever built for himself. I'm Frank Caprio. Remember, sometimes the best judgment is not in the book, it's in your heart. Thanks for listening, and God bless.